Hello and welcome to Filmi Ladies. We're Pitu and Beth, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the next superstar in our superstar series, and that is Kajol. Everything I know about Kajol is because I'm a diehard Shah Rukh Khan fan, and Beth and I were just talking about how they have done a whopping 7 movies together. So whether you're a Kajol fan or not is kind of irrelevant. It really only matters if you're a Shah Rukh Khan fan. If you're a Shah Rukh fan, you've seen Kajol's films. Um, I don't know that I would call myself a Kajol fan, but I do enjoy her within reason. I have some nice things to say about her. I also have I don't really have anything mean to say about her. I think on the whole, I'm kind of like positive-ish towards her. And I'm very curious to see what Beth thinks about her. We do know that she's one of the original Nepo babies before
Mhm.
Nepo babies became like a big thing. Her grandma, Shobna Samarth, was an actress who mostly did like Marathi movies and maybe one or two Hindi films. Her mom is Tanuja. Her aunt is the most heavily awarded Bollywood actress of all time, which is Nutan. Um, and then her dad is Shomu Mukherjee, but I don't think he was a particularly successful film
Mm-mm.
producer, but he's also connected to the Gangulis. And then her sister, Tanisha, also had like a very short-lived Bollywood career. Mostly the outfits from Neil and Nikki are like seared in my brain. And yeah, one of the original Nepo babies, also
Mhm.
worked with a lot of the original Nepo babies. You really can't talk about Kajol without talking about Karan Johar, Aditya Chopra, and Shah Rukh Khan. These four names just kind of, they always come up together. And I think that's part of her legacy, honestly. So Beth, how would you rank your feelings towards Kajol? There's negative, there's neutral, and there's positive.
I think they average out to neutral, but I am
Okay.
not, in fact, neutral about her. I am either positive or negative, but they kind of
Mm,
cancel each other out. So maybe the word for me is sort of
interesting.
ambivalent,
Yeah.
project dependent. She is
Ah.
certainly not someone I seek out.
Mm,
Um, like this may have been the first time I've ever sought out her movies for her.
right.
Um, But I surprised myself preparing for this episode. So man, I don't know. I do know, but yeah, it just is gonna vary depending on the thing.
Yeah.
Still do not would not rank myself as someone who like yeah, I'm not a certainly by your definition of fan, I'm not a fan. Even by my own definition of fan, I'm not a fan. But I might
Right.
be sort of mildly positive depending on the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, of your three categories, neutral.
Okay. By the way, I myself have forgotten because I have the memory of a goldfish, but you said my definition of a fan and your definition of a fan. Can you please remind me and our viewers
Well,
how our fan
I
definitions
think
differ?
yours fan means fanatic.
Yes.
Mine just means I like them, or
Okay.
I like them quite a bit.
Mm.
Fanatic would be a subset of fan for
Yeah.
me. So
So,
I use it a little more broadly than you do, I think.
okay. I think my fan is kind of like fan on steroids and in
Right,
all cap letters and
right.
the fireball font from Feroz Khan films. Okay.
And this makes me realize I need a word for that. So maybe vocabulary is interesting. I get how they
A
use the
fireball fan.
fireball font fan. Love it.
So, which movies of hers did you see for this episode? And also, would you say that you're particularly familiar with her filmography?
I am not particularly familiar, although I have seen all seven of her films with Shah Rukh, for example. I've seen quite a few. And I've especially seen quite a few of those I was able to find with subtitles. So, that shaped, as ever, what I went to look for this. I rewatched Gupt because, and spoilers will follow
Yes.
in this discussion. So if you've not seen Gupt, don't listen to this. And then I watched from the same year Hamesha because you recommended it. And spoiler alert, quickly, I loved Hamesha. I thought it was
Yeah.
great. So I'm very pleased with my choices. I did begin to try to watch one of the films she did with her now husband. I tried to watch
Oh, Ishq, Halchal.
no, I tried to watch Dil Kya Kare, but it did not actually have
Oh.
subtitles. And I felt, and the beginning of it is nauseatingly sweet. And I was like, nope, Beth out.
Wait, isn't Dil Kya? I have not seen this film, but isn't this the film where she's really sick and then it's like some very like soapy
I don't
melodramatic
know if she's really
movie?
sick, but it is very soapy and melodramatic. She ends up playing the biological mother of a child who's adopted by Ajay Devgan and Mahima Chowdhury.
Huh,
Uh,
okay.
and yeah,
Yeah, I've not seen this film. It sounded terrible even from the
yeah, I
trailers
wanted
that
to.
I saw.
My thinking was I'd like to see one with Ajay,
Mhm.
even though I don't care for him, but I missed shows and I just was like, nah, I'm not feeling this. I
Mm,
also downloaded Fana because I've not watched it except one time, and that was in the theater in India, so it did not have
mm,
subtitles. So I've never really truly seen
mm.
Fana, and I saw it quite early on, so my Hindi was worse than it is now. But I also, again, I was like, nah, I don't know if I really want to watch this right now.
Yeah.
So my sample is extremely thin, and one both my films are the same year. So
I feel like that's good. And also, I'm glad that my Hamesha suggestion panned out. I was like, I know Beth. She's got to watch Hamesha. I
yeah,
actually
you
low-key
nailed it.
enjoy that movie.
Really loved that
Yeah.
movie.
The movies I watched was I did rewatch Gupt as well because hello, the soundtrack alone, and also Bobby Deol's hair, and also Bobby Deol's outfits, and also Bobby Deol's jewelry.
And also
It's just
Bobby
Bobby
Deol.
Deol.
It's really, I mean, yeah, she got the awards, but like it's his film.
It's a Bobby Deol film. And as we
Yeah.
know, I'm a big Deol fan. So it was fine. So I basically watched Gupt because of Bobby Deol and Kajol. And then I watched Minsara Kanavu, which is the Tamil dub
Ah,
of Sapnay. Like they're not remakes per se. Sapnay is just in Hindi, and Minsara Kanavu, she is dubbed in that. And the only reason I watched it was, well, there's three reasons I watched it. Number one, I'd never seen it before, and it's directed by Rajiv Menon, who made
mm,
Kandu Konde, which I love. So I was like, okay, I like the one directorial venture of his that I've seen, and he's only really made three films. So I was like,
mm,
okay, I'll give this one a shot. Secondly, I adore Prabhudeva. Like
sure.
I want to be friends with him, and I just think he's so funny. And so I wanted to watch it because of Prabhudeva. And then number three, I love the soundtrack of this film, like Vennelave, Vennelave, which is the Tamil version of Chandare, Chandare. I
Mm,
love Prabhudeva's dance in that film with like
mm,
the moon. It's it's a little like if you love the Ryan Gosling Emma Stone dance from La La Land, it's like that. It's so cute. So I was like, okay, so even if I don't like Kajol in the film, I still have three good reasons to watch it, which is Rajiv Menon, Prabhudeva, and A.R. Rahman. So I can't lose.
mm.
So I made very strategic decisions.
So all of our
Um,
films are from 1997,
yes.
but we've seen others that we can talk about. And we did, listeners, if you missed the episode, we did talk about Dopati with Kriti
Yes.
Sen a few weeks ago. So that's a very recent one.
Yeah. I just didn't feel the need to like revisit some of the older Shah Rukh films I've seen because literally seen
Yeah,
those movies multiple times.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
I feel like I got a good grasp on Kajol with that. So why? Okay, so two things. I know that both of us are kind of like neutralish and neutral positive-ish towards her.
Mhm.
Why do you think that clearly Indian people or cinema goers of that time were way more positive about her, and she became a massive super, she truly is a superstar. It's not
Mhm.
like where we have to think about is Karishma not, no, Kajal was a superstar.
Mhm.
Why do you think that she is so popular? Because even now, if you talk to people, people love Kajal, especially the Kajal of the late 90s, and especially the Kajal that co-starred with Shah Rukh.
That's the reason I think.
Mm,
Are there people who are mega fans of Kajol who are not also at least mildly positive about Shah Rukh? I bet the
right,
answer is no. I don't
right.
know that. That would have been an interesting theory to test. And now that
Mm,
I'm no longer on Twitter, I don't have as massive of an easy reach of people to find out. But I think it's that. However, I don't want to say it's just that.
mm,
Um, when I was watching Hamesha in particular, she's got something that I also associate with some of her peers, but she can pass as girl next door, I
hmm.
think, because
Yeah.
she's pretty, but she's not like threateningly pretty, I don't
Yeah.
think.
She's not stunning.
No, but she's also, I'm sorry to say this, like the body. She's
Mm,
got a great figure. I would say like
mm-hmm,
she's super curvy and like you can put her
mm-hmm,
in the crop area, crop things of the era. She looks great. So like she's kind of like in that she can play cute, but she can also pull sexy when she needs to.
mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty powerful combination. Is she
Yeah.
unique in that at that time? I don't know, but maybe she got to do Girl Next Door a little harder. Like she nailed that harder than some of her
Yeah.
contemporaries. That's my question mark guess. Again, this is not my era, so I don't know, but I think you probably cannot remove the Shah Rukh pairing from her filmography and have it be nearly. Now, also, you couldn't remove anyone, seven movies from anyone's
Yeah.
seven starring films from anyone's filmography and have it be the same. So like that's not unique to her, but I really don't think based on my understanding of what I've heard and my own observation of what I've seen that she would be a superstar without that. But I would also like to be wrong about that. I would like it not to be dependent on a man, but I think it
Yeah,
is.
but I think I mean I do understand what you're saying and I agree with you to a large extent, but I also feel like Shah Rukh's stardom was also dependent on her. I feel it was that whole
Mhm.
ecosystem. Like
Sure.
for me, it's like Yash Raj Films or Aditya Chopra, whatever, Karan Johar Dharma Productions, Shah Rukh and Kajol,
Yeah.
that combination is
Yeah.
kind of killer.
Yeah.
So while Shah Rukh, I think, was always destined for superstardom, I mean, he just was. Um, I don't really think that she's that replaceable in the films she's done with him. I
Mhm.
mean, yes, in movies like Bazigar and Karan Arjun, you could have cast anyone. Like, no one is watching Karan Arjun for Kajol, right? They're watching
Right.
it for, hello, the reincarnation plot and the revenge and the fact that it has Shah Rukh and Salman, the two Khans. But in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, for example, I mean, people love that pairing. DDLJ, they love that pairing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like she lucked out by having an amazing chemistry with Shah Rukh, but Shah Rukh also lucked out in having an amazing chemistry
Yes,
with
for
her.
sure. For sure.
Because there's other actresses that I like his chemistry with. For example, I love Aishwarya Rai, but I just can't see Aishwarya paired up with Shah Rukh and like say DDLJ. She's not that girl, you
No.
know. It's a very different flavor. It's a very different vibe. Kajol just slots in so perfectly in that ethos that again, I don't know if there are Karan Johar movie fans out there who are not also fans of Kajol and Shah Rukh. So I think it was just like a perfect matchup of these people who like found each other and then they just had this like stellar chemistry.
A
Because
great point to talk about the chemistry of the production, not just the
yeah.
co-stars. I think that's very insightful, and I think you're right. I think
And
you're
because I've seen a lot of her films where she's not in that ethos, right?
right.
And
Hmm.
she doesn't do as well, but neither does Shah Rukh. Like, there's movies from that 90s era that I've seen Shah Rukh, because, like, I've seen all his films at this point. And there's films of his, for example, that movie with Manisha Koirala, which is Guddu, or Chamatkar with Urmila Matondkar, or what is that movie he did with Pooja Bhatt, Chahat? He's done some real turkeys in the 90s and he had the worst English Babu Desi Meme, which is a remake of one of my favorite Hollywood movies, and they destroyed it. And
Hmm.
he's so bad in those films and the actresses are so bad with it, and they're just bad films. He did also a movie with Ravina Tandon, I think Zamana Divana or something. So he
Hmm.
did a lot of turkeys at that time too. So I do think that Shah Rukh also owes some of his success, definitely owes
Sure.
a success to Dharma and YRF, but does owe some of his success to Kajal as well. So I
Hmm.
think it was like a symbiotic relationship of all of
Hmm.
these people finding each other.
Hmm.
Um, and I agree with you on how she can definitely be like girl next door. Like in Archie's term, she's Betty,
Yeah.
but she's not Veronica for sure. But she does know how to look hot as well. I mean,
Yeah.
Suraj Muhammadam is like, a great
Yeah.
example. She looks very cute in those like 90s outfits and
Hmm.
girls, like the overalls and the cute things and the hats and everything. But she
Hmm.
also looks really stunning in like a sari, with like the straightened hair and everything. Like she
Hmm.
can pull glam as well. But I think one thing that I always enjoyed about Kajol and continue to do so, is that I feel like she was very kind of raw and natural and kind of unstudied. And I
Mm.
even mean her looks, right? Like so many of her films from that era, she literally doesn't do anything to her hair. There's no outlandish wigs or curling or anything. It's just simple, kind of slightly frizzy, wavy hair, tied back with like a scrunchie, tied in a ponytail with a scrunchie. Her outfits are the kinds of outfits that if you were shopping in Mumbai and you went to like Lincoln Road or Elko Market in Bandra, you would find those exact same dresses over there. They were not like designer outfits.
Yeah.
And then I think even like her skin tone, she looks much more desi than someone like Karishma Kapoor did or Aishwarya Rai did. And in a country where any girl who has a unibrow immediately has to get that threaded out, I actually always respected the fact that she kept that unibrow. She steadfastly refused, like, makeup artists and stuff from threading it out. She's also the only person I know of who's an Indian film actress who has a widow's peak, because everybody else gets that threaded out too. And I have a widow's peak, so I'm
Yeah,
fine.
and same, right? I was
I know
noticing that for the first time the other day, and
everybody
I,
else gets it threaded out. Like
oh,
Sonali Bendre actually had a widow's peak, and before she
mm,
became an actress, like when she was a model, she had to get that threaded out. So her
mm,
hairline is like artificially threaded, basically. So
interesting.
I like the fact that Kajol of that era truly looked like someone who could board the local train with you, or she could
Yeah,
go to college with you, and there was nothing particularly like otherworldly about her. And I kind of like that she stuck to it. And that's why she was also more believable. She
sure.
also looked very different from everybody else. Whereas now, when I watch the movies, everybody looks identical, right? They all have the glossy lips and the fair
Yeah.
skin and the hair. So I wonder if for a lot of the people, part of her appeal lay in the fact that she was believable as opposed to being aspirational,
Mhm.
because Ishwarya Rai is aspirational. Um, and so I wonder if she was more believable as the girl next door because of that. Because like if you're gonna cast someone in a movie like say Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and you need to like exaggerate the tomboyishness, and you have to give her that very clownish outfit of the the neon pink and the orange,
Yeah,
and like and you
yeah.
have to show a contrast to Rani Mukherjee's character, it's it's kind of hard for someone to pull that off except for Kajol,
Mm.
right? But then she can also make that makeover happen as well. So I do wonder if that kind of raw quality that she had also appealed to people. Um, and then what do you think about her? Okay, so tell us about Hamesha because I like this movie. Tell people if they haven't seen it. What's
I
the
don't know
story?
how I mean, I know how I haven't seen this. It's because it's from the late 90s and I tend to avoid that era. This movie is a treasure. I loved everything about it. There's not even too much comedy uncle for me. This is, Kajal with Seth, who I have seen Ye Diligi, but I don't remember it very
Mm.
well. We have been planning to do an episode on Sabrina and Ye Diligi, so that
Hmm.
might be coming soon. Um, I loved them together. I thought their energies were bang on together. And
Yeah,
I do find her a little screechy and chipmunky, like kind of
her voice.
high. Yeah, and it's not just a higher pitched voice. It's really not only that, but there's something about the style of delivery and all. I just find
Mm.
her, I just don't, she comes off as cartoony to me a lot
Yeah.
that I don't like. And obviously in a cinema that is full of what some of us consider sort of exaggeratedness, hers is in a direction that I just don't like.
Mm.
Um, but I loved the two of them together. They were so like moppety and fun and cute. And then, so then the basic plot of this is they fall in love, and Aditya Pancholi, who is Seth's best friend, who is a prince and horrible, he also falls in love with Kajol. And instead of being like, okay, cool, I step back, he kills Seth. And then
That
Kajol,
which seems very on brand for Aditya Pancholi.
why?
Yeah.
I had to look him up because I'm like, why is this guy in movies? I'm like, oh, Nepo kid. Got it.
Right.
Um, and then she throws herself over a cliff to join her murdered beloved. Then we flash forward 22 years, and they've done nothing to bother to indicate these eras are different, by the way. But
Right. No.
and then they, eventually he Aditya Pancholi is still alive, and he sees her again. Same horrible pattern repeats, whatever. Um, I just really bought their love, and they have a lot of
Mhm.
songs together. And we know that I like early Seth in songs. I think they're really cute together. Again, their energy and the dancing really matches
Yeah.
well. I thought they they somehow look right together to me. I
Yeah.
can't really tell you what that means exactly. I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
Um, she is not as cartoony in this as I have found her in other things, but still her energy and his energy I thought were great together. But There's nothing very surprising about this movie other than I think they've put the elements together really well. We all know stories like this, and they nailed it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And for me to say that about a 1997 movie is really saying something.
Yeah.
I did learn that this soundtrack is heavily plagiarized. You can recognize Phantom of the Opera music in it, for example, Anu Malik,
Yes.
Anu Malik, Anu Malik. Oh my Lord. Um, he's one of these people that at a certain point I'm like, I know so many of these film composers are idolized, and you're like, but they didn't actually create as much of this as they get credit for, and that really
Right.
frustrates me. But I know I come from a different tradition around plagiarism and things like that. Anyway, he's so annoying. But the songs are this. I thought the songs were really fun.
Yeah.
The
I love
locations are lovely. Like it's all super fun.
Yeah, like Neela Dupatta Pila suit is so fun.
It's cute.
I just really like this. It's like almost like a Grease vibe that
Yes, yes,
Seth gives off, right? Like with his
yes.
jacket and the
Black
high
leather
heeled shits.
jacket.
It's like a little bit of a. I
Hmm.
always love me some Travolta, so it's like a little bit of that Travolta
He's
vibe I'm
always wearing
getting.
like big neckerchiefs and stuff, which I
Yeah,
guess is our indication that it's approximately 1975.
maybe
I guess it would be according to the
right.
chronology of the film. It doesn't matter.
Mm.
But it's, and then there's a song where they're both wearing kind of, yeah, 70s hippie kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she's got big kerchiefs in her hair and stuff too. There's a very significant scarf in this.
Mm.
Um, it's super fun. Yeah, and the big song that Seth has in the second half, in the
Mm.
reincarnation half, where he plays a local performer who's performing at her surprise engagement party, and she faints when she realizes, um, but he's doing all the moves. It has some sort
Yeah.
of gumnam elements with the people in the masks. It has
Hmm.
sort of a
It's a
yeah,
good
just a
party
big, it's a
song.
great party song. They're inside this huge Rajput palace
Mhm.
um, that they use pretty consistently throughout. That's beautiful. And yeah, he's doing everything in that song. And I think he really sells that song. I think he's highly
Yeah.
underrated at this kind of thing. So yeah, watch Hamesha, especially if you like reincarnation stories. This is a absolute classic, I would say.
It's really good. And I enjoy Hamisha so much. And I've always found it interesting that nobody ever talks about it. I mean, the film was a box office flop. So not
Oh,
enough people saw it in the first place. But
I wonder
also,
why.
no, I don't know. But I just don't think it was promoted heavily. And yeah, because I don't remember any buzz being around it. And also, Saif and Kajol is such an awesome combination, but it's not a combination you ever think of.
No.
Whereas Kajol and Ajay is a combination people think of because they're married in real life and they did like Ishq and Halchal and stuff. But like, I cannot stand them as a couple, either on screen or off screen. They're awful together because it's just, he's so dour and always looks like he's in a bad mood. And she's
Yeah.
always like chipper and he always looks irritated by her. And I'm like, really?
And
Why do you
sometimes,
people like
those opposites work well together, but not in that case, I would say.
not with them? No.
Mm,
But
mm.
yeah, her and Sev have like that early, they have that moppity energy. They're very vivacious and they look
Yes.
like they're having a good time.
Yes, they
And
do.
that is one thing I will give Kajal credit for also, is that no one ever talks about Kajal as being like a great dancer, because the great dancers are like legendary, right? Like
Yeah.
people think, and she's not like a trained dancer or anything. Nobody's ever gonna give Kajal like a big like Kathak number or like Bharatnatyam number. It's not gonna happen because she won't be able to pull it off. But like Shah Rukh, she has so much fun when she's dancing that
Yeah.
she's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like there's this one song in Minsara Kanavu. I don't know what the actual Tamil song is called, but the Hindi song is Ooh La La La. It's like in a carnival
Mm.
set, kind of. There's like circus clowns and like bicycles, and it's like, it's very cute. And she's wearing this black dress with her hair in a pony, and she has this big red silk scarf tied through her hair. And she is dancing so well, and she's going toe to toe with Prabhudeva, who is
Wow.
an exceptional dancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she really holds her own in Chandare slash Vanilabe as well. And it's not because she's technically perfect like he is, or she's smooth like he is. It's just because she's having a great time. Like
Nice.
you can see the glee on her face. So I think she's really fun to watch when she's dancing, because she's like one of those people that get on the dance floor and they don't care what you think. They're going to have a good time. And
Nice.
you kind of have a good time because they're having a good
Nice.
time.
Yeah.
So I like those kind of like free spirited angles to her. I kind of have like a weird feeling about Kajol, which like I kind of have like a respect for her because I like that she didn't cave to like typical beauty
Yeah.
standards, kind of like held her own and didn't allow people to put her in like outlandish costumes and sort of like put her foot down, which is why she looks
Mm.
fairly decent in her films of that
I
time.
mean, it helps to be a third generation star.
Oh, for sure, for
But
sure.
yeah, yeah, it sounds like she wielded her power um
Yeah.
smartly.
Yeah, and so I like those aspects of her, and I also like that she seems like she really has a good time when she's acting and dancing.
Nice.
She doesn't come across as someone who's like reluctantly there. And I like some of the choices she's made in terms of the role she's done. Like Gupt, for example, I don't think she won awards for Gupt because she was that great. She's fine. She's nothing great.
She won it because it's a surprise.
Yeah, she won it because A, it's a surprise, and she won it because A-listers didn't really do roles where they were the murderer. It just wasn't a thing they did.
Right.
I mean, Madhuri did it in Anjam, but also Madhuri has the revenge angle. In
Hmm.
Gup, Kajol is just a psycho.
Yeah.
She's just a horrible
It reminded
person.
me so much of the Urmila film that I watched with
Right.
yeah, with Freddie and Khan and
Pyar Tune
everything.
Kya
Yeah.
Kiya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar.
So and then there's this really old movie of hers that I had seen on TV. It was called Udhar Ki Zindagi. Again, nobody has
Mm.
heard of this film. It released in 92, the same year that her debut film Bekhudi came out, which I've also seen Bekhudi because I like the songs in that film. And Udhar Ki Zindagi was like a very interesting movie. It's like a remake of a South film. And her grandpa in this movie is Jitendra. And it's a cute, wholesome, kind of melodramatic film, but it's interesting. So Jitendra, the grandpa, has a son, and the son marries a girl against his wishes or whatever. And so they leave the house, and then they migrate to America. And then many years later, the son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter are all going to come to India to meet Jitendra, but the son and daughter-in-law never show up. It's just the
Mm.
granddaughter, which is Kajol, who shows up, and he's all very cranky and grumpy about it. He's like very difficult. He's like a old man yelling at the clouds kind of energy, and she has to kind of like warm him up sort of.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet, and in the end you basically discover that it's not that her parents were too busy to come, it's that they died.
Oh.
And so that's why she came back. And so it's very sweet, and it's like a nice movie. No one talks about it, but she's done some interesting choices as well that
I
i
that
that I
that was
like.
something I learned in doing this. I mean, if you'd
Hmm.
asked me what's a typical Kajol role, other than I wouldn't have known how to answer that other than
Hmm.
it is opposite Shah Rukh. uh, but she has diversified herself, and I always salute people who
Yeah.
are you have to be able to do it, but you also have to be
Yes.
willing to do it. And she
Right.
really was willing to do it. And I definitely, yeah, is Gupt a towering performance?
No.
No, but she did do it and she went for it. And she's not quite as unhinged as Urmila does it,
Yeah.
about 10 years, not quite 10 years later, 6, 7 years later, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's good. And she's convincing. And again, I think she's enjoying herself doing this
Yeah.
thing.
I was gonna say the only towering performance in Gupt is Bobby Deol's hair.
So I was just skimming Letterboxd before we got online, and there's an amazing uh someone commented on there that said the only twist in Gupt is why so many people are so hot for Bobby Deol. There. Eh, we'll get there. I yeah, so again this the having an assignment to research something a little bit and expose myself to some new things was a good one, and I definitely have walked out of this feeling better about her as an actor
Yeah.
and as an artist, right? Someone who's
Right.
choosing these things for themselves, um
Yeah.
and I don't think maybe I don't know enough to make the following statement, but
Mm.
my sense is she does not do anything that I would consider using her powers for evil.
Oh, what do you mean?
I don't know, but like some Nepo kids, like they are real big brats, or they
Yeah.
rest on their laurels. And I forget which of our
Mm.
past episodes I was listening to recently, where we were like, think of a superstar who never acts. Oh, we were talking about, are there men who get called stars but not also actors? And we both went Salman.
Yeah.
So like she doesn't do the stuff he does.
Right.
She tries harder than he does, and she doesn't kill anybody or beat anybody up that we know of. So,
Yeah.
you know, um, so I find, she seems to be a sort of benign to benevolent force in the world. So good for her.
Right.
I don't know, but like I said, I don't know a lot of film gossip and this kind of thing. But I still don't think I will go seeking out more of her films
Yeah.
particularly, but if one is recommended to me anyway, I would definitely be like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard of her being like an awful person either. I
Right.
mean, that would be Kareena Kapoor. That
Sure.
was clearly a very, very bratty and mean person.
Yeah.
I haven't heard bad things about her. I just always have to raise an eyebrow when I think about the fact that one of your best friends is Karan Johar, because that man is a
Well,
toxic
there's
individual.
that. But then
But he's
maybe
also
she's the,
Shah Rukh. So
yeah, I mean, maybe she's the kind of like solid, sensible best friend to this like huge persona who
yeah.
comes across at least as nasty and messy.
Yeah.
Um, I also will say I appreciate that Kajol kept acting after getting married.
Mhm. I was actually looking up her like her personal life and stuff, and I she's one of those people who got married really early.
Hmm.
So she had her first child Nisa at age 29. Like Sapnay slash Minsara Kanavu came out in 97, and then I believe she got married in 99, and she had her first child in like 2003 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I found that very interesting also because I'd seen interviews of hers from around that time. Most notably, Jeena Aisi Ka Naam Hai, which Farooq Sheikh used to host.
Oh
And
yeah.
so Kajol, Tanuja, Tanisha, Ajay Devgn, all of them were on the
Huh.
stage and they were talking and stuff. And Kajol basically talked about how she was never someone, like she likes acting in movies, but she was never someone for whom that was the only thing she did. And it was important for her to also have a life outside of film and to be
Oh, good
married
for
and to have
her.
children and stuff. Yeah, so I was kind of like, it kind of takes, well, two things. Number one, it does take some amount of courage to be like, I know that my career will potentially possibly take a hit if I were to get married and immediately start having children because I'm a heroine, not like a
Hmm.
supporting actress or
Hmm.
something. But to be like, nope, it's this is important to me, so I'm going to do that too, and I'm
Yeah,
going to juggle both of the things, and hopefully it works out. Of course, there's also an immense amount of privilege that allows
immense.
her to do that
Hmm.
because she knows she's going to keep getting movies from her friends. She
Yeah.
knows that the Therma Productions is going to keep giving her films. Shah Rukh is going to keep pulling for her. She knows Yashaj is going to keep pulling for her. But still, I like the fact that she, you know, it doesn't seem like she's someone for whom everything is just about being in the film industry and
Mm.
partying all the time, and just, she
Hmm.
cares about these other aspects of her life too. So she seems a much more well-rounded person to me
Mm.
than, again, her best friend Karan Johar ever has. So yeah, I like that aspect of her too. On paper, Beth, she seems like someone I should like more than I do.
Well, and this is the thing, right? And I was thinking that as you were talking too, because there are some things that she has in common with her whatever cousin Rani Mukherjee, whom I
Mm.
adore. I think Ronnie is the much stronger actor,
Oh,
so
for sure.
that's my difference there.
Definitely.
But and Ronnie does say idiotic things in public more than Kajol seems to, at least these days, as far as I know. But yeah, there are things on paper that
Yeah.
and while I do not valorize motherhood and
Right.
marriage, if it's important to her, she found a way to do it. And she kept acting, which
Yeah.
these are multiple things that are important. So I will do multiple things. I do have the privilege to do it, but I'm doing it because a
Mhm.
lot of people have the privilege to do it and don't do it. So,
Right.
you know, um, yeah, and she's born the same year I am. I feel like I
Yeah.
should like her a little bit more than I do. But
Yeah.
but here's the thing. Sometimes she's very bad as an actor.
Yes, she is.
And she's a
Um,
real stinker in some of these movies. So, and Dopa D is the one that comes to mind most, partly because I just saw it, but she's so bad in that
she's
film.
very bad in it. Yeah. Kriti Sanon really surprised me. I really enjoyed Kriti Sanon in it a
Hmm.
lot.
Hmm.
Yeah. What are some other films where you think Kajol is really bad?
So I know we did an episode on Lust Stories too. I don't really remember what we said about her in that, but that performance has not really stood up super well in my mind
I don't
anyway.
remember that episode.
Remember, so
Like
she
the
plays
like her part in
she
it.
has the horrible, she's married to the horrible royal guy who's a rapist.
Oh yes. Oh, I think I'd blocked it out because of some
Yeah.
of the very violent
Yeah, and
scenes.
a lot of
Okay.
what's yucky about that is not her fault, but
Yeah.
in my mind, she has not held up well in that film. Um, I do find her again. shrill is this word that has a lot of problems attached to it, but I just
Mm,
want to use it in the sort of original meaning that I know anyway, which is um grating, loud and
yeah,
grating, right? I do find her loud and grating in some of her films. If I
yeah,
recall, her performance in My Name is Khan is pretty irritating. All of that movie is irritating to be
yeah.
sure, but she is a part of what is irritating about it. Um,
She's pretty irritating in Dilwale. Well, again, everyone is irritating in Dilwale.
yeah. Um, there are things about Anjali in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai that are annoying. Some of it was written that way. Some of her performance is a little, again, is a lot, but so is Shah Rukh's. So again,
Yeah,
they balance fine, but I don't like I hate Rahul, young
yeah.
Rahul. And I don't really like young Anjali until she's sad, and then I really like her, and then I feel bad about liking someone better when they're sad.
Right.
But when we did our episode on that, like really finding I really found a lot to connect to in sort of sad Anjali, but her, but I think it's because she's kind of insecure and feeling
Yeah,
like she's got to fight for this man. And I don't know if she knows it's a losing battle, but we all
right.
know it. So again, some of it's the roles, but the fact that I can't even name you a ton of things where I find her annoying. Why is annoying the thing that has stuck in my mind about her? I don't know, and that's not fair,
Right.
probably. So I do feel like this this particular episode is opening my mind about her.
Mhm.
And we
I
should
think,
always be aware that she could be a killer.
right. She could always be that person that gets drunk and drives over people on the footpath, Beth.
Sure,
This is our new standard.
anything's possible.
Vikas and I were chatting and on Instagram, and he was talking. He keeps throwing people in cinematic jail. Like he was like we were messaging, and he was like, "Well, that person needs to go to jail." That person. I was like, "What is this jail you're talking about? Are you like some like Asrani, or was it Jagdeep who used to say, "Hum अंग्रेजों के ज़माने के jailer हैं?" I'm like, "Are you the jailer, Vikas?" And he was like, "Yes." And Vikas's punishment for the people he's throwing in jail for crimes against cinema is
Ah.
he's gonna make them watch Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum on a loop to
I thought
reform
I
them.
thought he said he liked that movie.
That is why, because apparently that is his reform strategy. I was like,
Oh, it's
wow,
going to
this
improve people?
apparently.
He's going to send me to jail at this point. And for those who don't know, this is our new friend Vikas, who runs the podcast Let's Talk Melbourne, which I have recorded for and Pitu is going to record for. So we will promote those episodes when they
No,
are
he's
out.
always putting people in cinema jail constantly. His
Interesting.
cinema jail is very full at this point. I'm just going to say there is no room
Overcrowding
in
is a
his jail.
problem.
Overcrowding is a huge problem in his jail. But I was actually thinking about like the grating thing, because the one film I feel like gets mentioned a lot when people either say that they love Kajol, and also the people who say that they hate Kajol, it's always that one performance, and that performance is, so I fall in the love category. There's no ambivalence, and that
Hmm.
role is her role in Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum
Sure. Yeah.
as the loud Punjabi girl whose dad owns the mithai shop. She is my favorite thing about that movie, and that is my favorite film of all time, which
I thought your
also
favorite thing was the mother-son love.
I love that too. Oh, don't remind me of that. That is so sweet. Oh, I love that too. Okay. Okay, there are many things I love about it. This is like when I say my favorite Shah Rukh is X, and you're like, I thought, I'm like, well, there's that too.
You just say a favorite thing,
It
not
is
the
one.
favorite thing.
It's like, when people say best friend is not a person, best friend is a
It's a rank.
tier,
Yeah.
it's a rank. So it's the same thing.
Fair.
Of the tier and
Of
rank
favorites.
of
Yep.
favorites about Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, one of those is her performance in it. So I love her performance in that film. I also really enjoy that character. Now, do I want to be friends with the character? Absolutely not.
Mm.
Hell no. I would get a migraine. You would find me lying down with like a maximum strength Excedrin and like a cold cloth on my forehead with a cat on my chest. That is how you would find me if I had to spend some time in the mithai shop. That is not happening. The only way I would be in the mithai shop is if I'm trying to jump her husband, which is Rahul, because
Mm.
he's visiting India from the UK. That's the only reason I would do it. But I feel like she gets so much criticism for that role. And it's like every time I want to say, guys, that's how that character is written. So
Right.
if you hate that character, you have to hate Karan Johar for it, because she's
No
just doing
problem.
what she's right. Because she's just doing what she's told. Everyone in that movie is annoying. Amitabh Bachchan is hella annoying. Jaya Bachchan is hella annoying. Pooh is hella annoying.
Mm.
I don't find Shah Rukh hella annoying. I don't find Ritik's character hella annoying either. But I find the grandma's hella annoying as well. So like almost everyone in this movie is hella annoying. So why is she criticized as being so annoying? Because she's like loud and flamboyant and silly and ridiculous. But I feel like that's how she was written.
Hmm.
And people who hate her really hate that character because it's so over the top. And I kind of get it because I think that people who are very loud and bubbly and vivacious and heavily opinionated and things like that, they have to be very careful not to cross this line of going from entertaining to irritating.
Hmm.
um, and it's very, and everyone has different tolerances of what they think is entertaining. Like to me, she's entertaining. I don't want to be her friend, but I find that character very entertaining, and for other people she's grating. I feel the same way about Kiran Kher. I know many people who like her.
Mm.
I cannot stand that woman's character. She's always so loud and obnoxious, like particularly her role in Devdas as
Hmm.
Aishwarya Rai's mother. And I'm like, oh my God, get this woman off my screen. But I know people who love her. So do you feel like you find Kajol, and I'm not trying to convert you, right? Like I said, I'm not a Kajol fan, so I don't
Yeah.
have a bone. It's not a bone to grind. It's what, a bone to
Axe to
pick,
grind, bone to
an
pick.
axe to grind, or a bone to pick. Yes, I do not have a bone to grind. I'm going to make up a new metaphor. So I don't have a vested interest in asking this
Yeah.
question. I'm just curious. Do you feel like her being grating is because of the way her characters are written and she chooses them, or do you think it's the way she plays them? And do you think someone else could play it in a
Mm.
way where it's endearing without being annoying?
I'm sure a lot of it's the roles.
Mm,
Um, Given who her friends are, could she have played these things in a different way
mm,
to be less grating? Maybe she'd have
yeah,
a better shot than most people because of the
right.
ears that she has. Um, but you're right. Like in K3G, I hadn't really thought about this till just now. If you want to upset the Raichand family, you have to have someone like her.
Yeah.
Right. So if the point of this is to destabilize that family, throw a wrench into it, have a wrench to grind, a wedge to put in, blow open that, show the weaknesses there, and then put it
Mm,
back together. You need someone like her. There might have been a few other sort of stereotypy things that you could have
yeah.
thrown in there, but that one certainly works. So, you know, if it's all about rebuilding your family, then
Yeah.
she is a necessary force. So, and then
Right.
that's a script issue,
Yeah.
I would say. I feel like probably quite a few people could do what she's doing in most of these
Mm,
films and probably do it as well or better. Um, but you know, she's certainly not incompetent and terrible and things like that. It's more like, and again, she's one of these people, she's always doing something. I've never
right.
felt that she's flat in
Yeah.
anything unless it's on purpose, like in Gupt where she might be concealing a little bit, but there's a purpose for that.
Mm,
Withholding because there's a purpose, although I don't think she actually withholds much in Gupt either. She just hides.
yeah.
Um, so, I appreciate that and I can imagine that the next time I watch DDLJ, for example, I might kind of feel more kindly about. Oh, I don't think she's annoying. Again, what annoys me about that movie has nothing to do with her. So,
It's his
um,
character that's annoying. And also
it's his
Amrish
character
Puri is
that's
hella
super annoying,
annoying.
and the whole
Yeah.
concept of everything is super annoying. So that's not her. Um, but yeah, so like, can you imagine if Ronnie had been in My Name is Khan, for example? I think that would have been better. Not
I
that I
just
want
feel
to.
like that movie is just
It
unsalvageable.
is, it
So
is, it is. But I think it would have
I
been,
don't know if anyone could have saved
and I've
it.
never rewatched that either.
I have
So
not rewatched.
I feel like at some point I probably will, just for like,
Why? Why?
I
Why?
don't know. I mean, the whole like movies that Bollywood that takes place in the US is interesting to me.
Yeah.
So like maybe I'll do some kind of project anyway. Um, so yeah, I and the fact that I'm not even pinpointing more about what's annoying about more of her performances is really
Yeah.
indicating that something has lodged in my head and maybe it's very unfair. Um,
Right.
so yeah, but it probably is at least half the issues of scripts and direction, if not
Right.
more. But also, that we've talked about this a little bit before. Is it hard to be directed by or to direct your friends?
It's got to be.
But maybe if you're Karan Johar, you don't care and you get what you want and whatever, whatever. But I don't know.
So I was thinking about this earlier in the day, and I hesitated about mentioning this on the podcast because I feel like it's not a completely fully formed thought. So like bear with me here. It's like a theory,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I feel like in some ways the reason that Shah Rukh and Kajol work so well together on screen, and also the fact that they're such close friends off screen as well, I think is because in some ways they're very similar, which is
Mm,
they both have, I'm not going to say bullyish personalities. I don't think either of them is a bully, but they kind of have this vibe of like, I'm going to do what I want to do and you're going to be okay with it. You know, it's
mhm.
kind of like this vibe that they have where they're not exactly like the kinds that just go along with stuff. They're not people
Right,
pleasers. Let's just say that.
right.
And I feel like their best work, and I say this as a mega Shah Rukh fan, their best work is when they work with directors who have control over them and who rein them in
Yeah,
and who have the ability to say, stop, you're overdoing it,
yeah,
right? They have to work with people who check them, which is why
yeah.
Shah Rukh Khan does so well in films like Swades, where Govarikar checks him. He does so well in Chak De India. But then he's also done some absolutely horrible performances because the director just let him get away with it. And I feel like Kajol is the same way.
Mm,
I don't really know how Karan Johar is supposed to or would be able to like stop her in her tracks and be like, can you please stop? Or Yash Chopra, yes, he's like a senior, obviously a very senior director. But again, these are people who have known these people since they were children. I feel like so many times Kajol's best performances are with people who probably are just not going to take crap from her. So
yeah.
I really have this theory that they do better with people who won't let them get away with nonsense.
Mm,
And there has to be some level of unfamiliarity or maybe just like professional boundaries. Like I was reading about Bazigar. The end of Bazigar is so dragged out because the fight just keeps getting more
yeah,
and more violent and horrible. And I was like, this movie is so good until this long, ridiculous, horrible fight with so much ketchup on Shah Rukh's face and he's bleeding from like every skin pore. That was Shah Rukh Khan's idea. He said to Abbas Mustan, I want to do like a really big action scene and I want it to be really big and
yeah.
violent. I'm like, but why are you doing the director's job? The worst part of Bazigar is your idea. So I just get the sense that these are people that are used to getting their own way and they need to work with people who are going to pull them back. Dilwale was such a horrible movie. And I think it was because it's Rohit Shetty. Rohit Shetty did not have the status in the Bollywood pecking order where he's going to be able to control these people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyway, that's
As
my
you were
theory.
talking, I was like, I was just refreshing myself. She's never been a Yash Chopra heroine, which is interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, she's been an Aditya Chopra
Yeah,
heroine,
they've
but
been in the
not
product Yash Chopra productions, but she has never worked with Yash Chopra as a director. And that
interesting.
maybe says something about, I mean, he doesn't go for sort of shrill and energetic women.
Mm-mm.
Energetic in a certain way, yes, but like dancers, not,
Yeah,
you know,
his model is always like a very sophisticated person, and even if she's not super sophisticated, there's still like an elegance. Like if you look at
hmm
Sridevi in Chandani, that character is very like vivacious and somewhat childish in the first half of the film and stuff, but it's
hmm
still like there's still like some amount of like grace and elegance.
hmm
I don't think Kajol necessarily fits that she's not a Yash Chopra vibe.
mm
I think Madhuri in Dil To Pagal Hai is a very Yash Chopra vibe. That's very like that's a very Yash Chopra coded heroine. I still have no idea. Oh, Jab Tak Hai Jaan, which is a movie that I have seen 8 times and also saw on the flight on my way back from India. And it's an asinine movie, and I don't know why I see it, but I watch it all the time. Has Katrina Kaif in it, who, although atrocious, is more in the Yash Chopra mold, but it has Anushka Sharma, who also takes the cake for being grating.
Yeah, that's true.
She is so insufferable in that movie. I fast forward every time Anushka
Yeah,
Sharma comes on screen. So I feel like young Kajal could have done that role and
yeah,
played it to that level of
yeah,
annoyance.
yeah, yeah.
But you're right. Like I don't think she's ever done Yash Chopra films because she's just not that vibe. Kinda. I feel
hmm
like of her contemporaries, Manisha Koirala would have been more of a Yash Chopra heroine. Although I don't think she's done. Yash Chopra films
Mm-mm.
either. I think in the 90s, he just wasn't doing a lot of stuff. He was just
Yeah.
letting Aditya Chopra kind of like take over. Is Mohabbatein an Aditya Chopra movie? It is.
Hmm.
Uh, okay. Didn't you recently come across a Blue Sky opinion where someone loved Mohabbatein?
Yeah, someone on Blue Sky said it was their favorite movie. And like,
I love it.
very few people say that.
I think you should befriend them.
No, we might have a lot in common actually, but probably no. Let's talk about Gupt.
Oh my god, I love that movie. It's so much fun.
It is
I'm
so much
gonna
fun.
I'm gonna talk about that one when I go on Vikas's podcast because
Oh,
we're gonna
okay.
do an episode on Rajiv Rai directors because
So
we discovered we're the only two people we know who are Rajiv Rai fans.
let's maybe go lightly on Gupt then, since you're going to talk about it
No, it's
elsewhere. But
okay.
it's so fun. I had completely forgotten the absolute army of uncle stars who are in the beginning of this movie. I didn't remember any of them. I remembered Om Puri, and that's about it. But like Kulbhushan Kharbanda, uh,
Everyone
you
is in
know,
it.
Prem Chopra, everyone is in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's so enjoyable to see all of them. It's a little confusing. You're just like, I'll just let
Mm.
this wash over me. The Raj Babar of it all and Paresh Rawal of it all, who, by the way, I think is very good in this movie.
Mm.
And he is a person I go ugh about because of his
Yeah.
politics, but actually, I think he's a very good actor, as is Anupam Kher. Often, I think.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, Dalip Tahil is there, Raza Murad is there, Sharat Saxena is
Okay.
there, like everyone is there.
So Dilip Tahil in the tiny pencil mustache looked very handsome, and
I
I wanted to send
know.
you a screenshot and be like, Dilip Tahil does it again. He
Does it
is
again.
once again hashtag hot
We love
uncle.
middle-aged Dalip Tahil. We love
He's
him.
like seriously hot. I think he should have been a hero when he was like younger.
So my main question about Gupt, and again, we've already mentioned the spoiler, but again, you just tune on out if you missed it the first time, but just get out of here. Um, what is Bobby Dale doing in this movie? And I don't mean what's he doing here? What is his what is this approach that he has brought to this character? And someone on Blue Sky, I think it was Vikas, actually was like, "Oh, I love his performance." I'm like, I'm not saying I hate it. I'm saying I don't understand what he's doing and why. Um, please discuss.
I will tell you, Bobby Deol does in this film what Bobby Deol does in all his films, which is to exist in the bubble that is Bobby and to do this
The Bobby
and
bubble,
wear the Bobby Deol hair. And then he
which
wears
is
his like,
magnificent. The
which
hair is
is,
magnificent. He looks
he
really
has a
good.
mane.
Yeah, he has a mane.
Yeah.
He looks a very
And
particular
also,
kind of 90s good.
and I'm going to say this. This is the only time I will say this about a person, which is typically if I see a man wearing sunglasses after dusk, whether it is indoors or outdoors, whether it's in a film or whether it's outside, I immediately think douchebag. But Bobby Deol in that song Dunya Hasino Kamela is wearing his sunglasses, his Ray-Bans the entire time, and he's doing this. And I was like, yeah, I got you, Bobby. So Bobby Deol is the only person who can look not like a tool even when he's wearing sunglasses after dark, which is very much a Bobby Deol superpower. He also has his very typical Anna Singh designed Bobby Deol wardrobe, which he wears in
Mm.
Soldier. The Bobby Deol of all of those films of that era are all interchangeable. Did you ever have that toy when you were little where it was like the wardrobe thingy where you could change the outfits of the doll on the thing?
Fashion plates.
Yes.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
I
is
love fashion
Bobby
plates.
Deol. So it's just Bobby Deol, and then you just change Bobby Deol's outfit, and then the movie just keeps changing. But Bobby Deol gonna Bobby Deol.
He's gonna solve a
Yeah,
murder.
he doesn't act; he just vibes.
Yeah, it was really quite something. And I had also forgotten how really that this is his film. Um, because obviously we all talk about it for her, but really this is a
It's his
Bobby.
film.
I
Yeah.
think it was Melanie, Tiger Schroff scholar friend
Mm.
Melanie, who was liking Bobby. But I yeah, it's quite an enjoyable ride. I love a murder mystery, so that's also
Yeah.
fun. Manisha Koirala is someone I don't have any feelings about
Mm.
whatsoever. I don't care.
Mhm.
I recently rewatched Yelgar and she's kind of in that and she's pretty bad.
Yeah.
She's better in this, but I was still like, huh. But why is she so obsessed with him? I don't know. It's vibes. I guess he's
It's
vibing.
vibes.
Um, it's I remembered the whole prison breakout scene, of course. That's
Yeah.
really fun. to get picked up on your Escape by Bob Christo is A plus
Yeah, but
planning.
like when he's going through like the sewers, when they're explaining that he has to go through the sewers, I was like, yeah, but that's Bobby. Bobby can't go through no sewers.
Yeah, it
Like,
really just looks like water. It doesn't look any worse
yeah,
than that, but
Bobby has to go through like Evian or so. Bobby has to go through water that has been imported directly from Punjab.
right.
It has to come from the five rivers. Only then will
It's
Bobby go
true.
through it to the
It's
ocean or the
true.
sea.
It's just such a thing. But okay, so let's talk about Kajol in it then. I
Hmm.
think she really plays this extremely well. She has a really fun part.
Hmm.
It's not the biggest part, but she really clearly relishes it. And it's,
Hmm.
when you know what's going to happen, it's fun to watch how she's being duplicitous all the time. And
Yeah.
um, because in the okay, so after the court trial, and it's Manisha's character who is trying to say goodbye to him, and he's like, "Get this locket out of my pocket," and you're like, "Why didn't he do that with Kajol?" But then you're like, "Oh, okay." But
Yeah.
that writing wise, I think that's a weak point of this film, but
Hmm.
otherwise, I really enjoy it. But yeah, Kajol, I think is probably a lot of people could have done it well. Like I would have loved to see like Rani Mukherjee turn out to be the killer. That'd be
Hmm.
amazing to me. Ashwarya, like charisma, like a lot of these people. But Urmila obviously would have been
Hmm.
amazeballs. But obviously that twist was really fun for people. It's still, I mean, it's still so well remembered.
Yeah.
Kajol is the killer. It's kind of a meme on
Yeah.
Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
So, my husband and his best friend had gone to see Gupt in Mumbai when it released, and I think they saw it first day, first show. And so they watched it the first show, and then they came out and they really enjoyed it. And the people who were gonna enter at the same time for like the second show were being such jerks. It was mostly like college dudes, and they were literally the people who came
oh
out of the
no,
theater were shouting, "Kajol is the killer! Kajol is the killer!" So the second show people were pissed.
as they
And my
should be.
husband was like, thank God I went first day first show, because otherwise I would have like, I mean, you just destroyed the film for all these
I
people.
mean,
That's
I felt
terrible.
like it holds up really well, even if you know who the killer
Yeah,
is. I very much enjoyed it. Now, Grass, I had forgotten a lot of it, but I hadn't forgotten that. Um,
right.
I think it's a pretty it's a solid film.
It's a solid film, but it's not necessarily like that great because of Kajol.
No,
But I'm
no,
like, she's fine.
she's
I
fine.
don't really have any complaints about her performance, but I
No,
think the film works as a film. It doesn't really owe its awesomeness to any of those people. I think the
no.
music plays a huge part in this
Yeah.
film being so much fun. And also the background score. I love the background score of this movie because it's so like creepy, that I
Well,
love
it
that
should
thing.
be given where it came from.
Right. But I love how it's like
It's used
creepy
well.
and fun. It's used well,
Hmm.
and like the camera work is fun. But I mean, I always enjoy Rajiv Rai's films. Like I love Through Dev, so it's no surprise that I would like this one too. But yeah, she's fine. Manisha Koirala is one of those actresses that I don't really have a strong opinion about her either. I
Mm-mm.
think she's like an ethereal beauty, like especially when
Mm,
I watch her in like 1942 A Love Story. You know that song
mm,
Pyar Hua Chupke Se, and
mm.
she's like splashing her face with the water, and I'm like, you are so
Oh.
beautiful. I just find her so beautiful, but not necessarily a person whose movies I seek out or anything like that. Like she's fine. She's very good in Akele Hum Akele Tum, which is the Kramer
Mm,
versus Kramer copies.
hmm.
Nowhere as good as the original, but like, yeah, like she's nice in that. And she's also good in Lajja with Madhuri.
Mm.
Um,
I
but
love the
yeah,
song in Gupt where they're both women are imagining themselves with Bobby in the two different climates.
yeah,
That's very
that was
well
very
done
cool.
by
Like
everyone.
Kajal is in the snowy bits, and then Manisha is like in the desert, which I thought was
Hmm.
very funny because Manisha is literally from Nepal. So I was like, shouldn't Manisha be in the snowy mountains? But like, okay,
It's
whatever.
called acting.
This is true. Also, I like their outfits.
Yeah.
Like when Manisha's in the desert and she's wearing this like blue outfit that's kind of like harem pants, like loose Georgette harem pants on like this blue thing. She looks really good in that too. And then Kajal looks really good. Also, this has nothing to do with the film, but I just wanted to appreciate both women's figures in this movie, especially Manisha Koirala, because you do not see actresses anymore who have anything but like a perfect gym toned figure. And Manisha's body in this movie, especially when she's wearing like those harem pants and stuff, and she has like she's showing off her midriff. That is not a person who has been going to the gym. She looks great. And I think it was awesome that back then all kinds of bodies and shapes were represented on screen. I was like,
Well,
this is cool. Why
a
don't we see this
slightly bigger
anymore?
variety, maybe not all, but
Yeah, for sure. But you don't even see that anymore. There is
Mm.
literally no variation anymore, Beth. Everybody looks like they came off a conveyor belt in an
And when
assembly
there is,
line.
it's a plot point like in Vera De-Wedding,
Right. Or what is that movie that I refuse to see? Double XL.
Double XL. Yeah.
But I mean, even that little bit of variation has gone away.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, you were actually allowed to have a jiggly belly.
Mm.
Amazing. How did that happen? And she looks great and she looks glamorous and she looks confident. And I'm like, we don't get that anymore, which sucks.
There's a thing Kajol does in this movie that I do want to call forward because I loved it. I think it's the first, so the phone shows up all over this film. Like people are always calling each other.
Yeah.
And I used to run a Tumblr called Fully Phony, which had just
Okay.
grabs of people on the phone from Hindi cinema, particularly if the phone itself is interesting in some way. But
Oh, like the Vakt phone.
right, right. And like the Rais car phone, for example,
Ah,
from
yeah,
like a
yeah.
car. So I grabbed a bunch of things for my Tumblr from this, and there's a scene where um Kajol and Bobby are on the phone, and then Manisha's on the phone with him later, or but they cut them together or something. I don't know. But she is lying on her side on a bed, and she is wearing like black bike shorts and a kind of neutral colored top, if I remember right.
Okay.
And there's something very like pajama party sexy about it or something, but like
Uh,
she's lying on her side. She has kind of like a pillow tucked between her legs, like she's gonna hug it or something,
mm,
or maybe something else. I don't know. But and she's
mm,
just all, and then she like rolls over on the pillow and is all like dreamy with the phone, which is a thing that you
mm.
see teenagers do in movies all over the place. Right? And
Yeah.
it was just like a very well done dreamy phone moment. I feel like we don't see dreamy phone moments as much anymore because
Yeah.
phones are so much more pedestrian. Like they do all these
Boring.
amazing things, but we're all just like, and boring the phone. It's not
Yeah.
special to be called to the phone or to make a phone call anymore the way it is. And Manisha is doing another version of it in her phone sequence. But I really liked Kajol. I thought she really nailed the kind of um really overly excited about this conversation. And
Mm,
obviously we learn more later, but you know,
yeah.
it's a I think it's a really nice touch.
I like that song in Gupt, which I forget which one it is, but it's towards the end where all three of them are kind of like dancing on a stage, and Manisha wears this like red outfit, a red chiffon outfit with like cut out shoulders and
Yeah.
like a gold belt, and she looks
Yeah.
so glam and awesome. And everybody dances so well together, like the way they're
Hmm.
choreographed. It was just such a joy to watch that. And
Hmm.
Bobby had great chemistry with both of them.
Hmm.
Like 90s Bobby is a very enjoyable person to watch. Like I saw Ye Dilagi for our Urmila episode, like it was a rewatch, and it's the same Bobby. It's the same Bobby in all of those films. He just does the same thing in every film, but it's enjoyable and it works, so it's like it's fine. In Minsara Kanavu, it is such a strange movie. Beth, have you seen it? Have you seen Sapnay?
No, no, I
Okay,
haven't.
get this. Kajol wants to be a nun, like legit, like she wants to be a nun because she was raised in like a convent, and she's shown as this very like religious person. And there's literally a song in the Hindi, it's called Roshan Hui Raja Mariam Ka Beta, like when the night became radiant when Mary's son Jesus was born and everything. And it's
Oh.
like, so she literally wants to be a nun. And Arvind Swami is in love with her. And Arvind Swami tries to get Prabhudeva, who's like a hired person, to try to convince her that she should love Arvind Swami. So it's like, but then Prabhudeva falls in love with her and she falls in love with him, etc. And so it's like this weird love triangle. But it is the strangest movie. It is so weird. The script is bonkers. It's cuckoo banana pants, as you would say.
Mm.
And I had no idea what was going on. And I was like, Rajiv Menon, I watched this movie for you because you made Kande Kone Kande Kone. But I had forgotten that Kande Kone Kande Kone is based on Sense and Sensibility. So he had Jane Austen to rely on. And in this, I don't know who the script writer is, but the script is terrible. And it's just the weirdest film. I don't think I've ever seen a Hindi film where the lead actress wanted to become a nun. And
Sounds a
she
little
has all
bit
these.
like Cyrano, doesn't it? A little bit.
Which one? I've not seen that.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. This does
Yeah,
sound like cuckoo bananas. It does
it
indeed.
is very cuckoo bananas, especially because her character is shown as like, yeah, she's shown as like this religious person who likes to pray and stuff, but she's also like so vivacious and she likes to have fun and she has all these friends and she's always having a good time. And I'm like, girl, the life of a nun is not going to be a good time. Like, it's a life of like prayer. I don't see you praying 24/7. So
Ah.
strange. And no one in this movie has chemistry with anybody. So she has scenes with Arvind Swamy. It's so bad, Beth. First of all, Arvind Swamy looks like an Uncle G, and I've never understood why people were crushing on
Well,
him.
yeah.
Right? Like
And
he's such an uncle.
he's only 4 years older than her, but he looks much older.
He just has an uncle vibe. And
Yeah.
he's I mean, I've seen Bombay and Roja, and like I don't get it, but whatever. I know some people were crushing on him back in the day. But him and Kajol are as ill matched as Sunny Deol and Urmila Matondkar were in Ye Dilagi, where it's kind of like just bad. And then she has no chemistry with Prabhudeva either. And Prabhudeva is just doing his usual Prabhudeva stuff, which is he's kind of like a court jester and he's funny and cute and he dances beautifully. I love Prabhudeva so much, but they have zero chemistry. It's very strange. And then Prabhudeva and Arvind Swamy are like friends, kind of. Like Arvind Swamy has hired Prabhudeva to do his bidding, but they also become like affectionate towards each other, whatever. But they don't have friend chemistry. Nobody in this film has any chemistry, and it's supposed to be like a love triangle. And I'm like, y'all are missing the most important word in the phrase love triangle, which is love. So it's very bad. And it's such a waste of a great A.R. Rahman soundtrack. Like the soundtrack of this film is phenomenal,
I
and
need
it's
to
like
watch the
wasted on
songs, I
these
think.
people.
Yeah.
You have to watch Vanillave, which I just love it. Watch Vanillave and then watch the La La Land song. Oh, I love
Why
it.
do
It's
you
so
think
cute.
Kajol was in this, given that it's they had to dub her?
I don't know. Because I mean, I
Box
don't.
office?
Possibly because Kandakode also Aishwarya Rai and Tabu are both dubbed because neither of them speak Tamil either.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, I assume Arvind Swamy and Prabhudeva are speaking in their own voices, which, by the way, the dubbing artist that Kajal has is good, but that voice is too sweet for her. And
Mm.
so the first time she opens her mouth and says something, I was like, wait, what? What is happening? Why? It was just kind of jarring. But it is such a strange movie, and I'm glad it was over. And I have no desire to see it again.
That's fair.
Um, yeah, but I will say I thought she was cute in it. She really excels in like the songs where like there's that song "Avara Bhavne Jab Hole Hole Gaye." Like it's just one of those songs where like a girl and her friends are going biking and they're
Oh, that's nice.
camping and
Yeah.
all the cute things. And I guess that's one of the things that also I like about Kajal is that I can see her as that girl who goes fishing and camping and horseback riding and plays badminton. Like,
Hmm.
she's that girl that is probably a lot of fun at summer camp. Or if she was in America, she would probably be like a Girl Scout, which is not things I can imagine Aishwarya Rai ever doing. Aishwarya
No,
Rai is too like
fancy.
pristine and fancy. Yeah, she's too Miss India. But she's very cute in this film. And also when they're in the snow, all the girls are wearing like these cute little peacoats and they have like these cute things. I was like, I really like this like girl group. She has more chemistry with her girlfriends
Hmm.
than she does with the men, so not good. But yeah, I like her when she's being cute and funny and not being grating, I just say. Okay, ice cream flavor time. What ice cream flavor do you think she is?
I just 30 seconds ago remembered I'd have to do this, and I have no, like, nothing rushed to mind that I haven't used already. So you please go.
Well, you can still use an ice cream flavor that you've used for someone else if you think it fits.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be like super unique to them.
So I
Otherwise, we
feel
would
like
run out of
I need a
flavors.
flavor that's like sometimes I really am in the mood for it and I really like it, and sometimes I don't.
Ah.
So it's going to have to be something with some kind of presence, right? That I'm not
Mm.
since and I
I
know
mean,
that
she's
I said
definitely not a vanilla.
right. So I was saying that, yes, my hits and misses for her average out to neutral, but I'm not
Yeah.
exact neutral. It's like one or the other.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know what
It's more
flavor
like you
that would
feel very
be,
strongly about her based on the project.
or I at least have an opinion anyway. Like
Yeah.
it's probably not super strong, but I have an opinion. So then maybe it's like, some company's version of this flavor you like and some company's version of it you
Mm.
don't, or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's gonna have to be something kind of like that. And for me, it might be something like this is a standard US flavor. I don't know if it's standard other places. Butter pecan. That's a thing
Okay.
that's always on the menu, right? It's always people always make it, but I don't really think about butter pecan. But when someone gives me some, I'm like, that's good, but I'm never going
Hmm.
to order it.
Right.
So it might be something kind of like that. And I'm not trying to do anything with the comparison with a nut or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like, yeah, I, maybe that.
Mhm. By the way, we don't get butter pecan in India. At least it's not in like most of the shops, but we
Mm.
get butterscotch, and butterscotch is often thought of as like an old people flavor.
Yeah. Well, it's like butterscotch
Or
candy too, are
cassata.
thought of as like a grandma. You have butterscotches in your
Yeah.
bag
Like what is that? Werther's
where there's,
Werther's original. Yeah.
But
So
I
I
love
feel
butterscotch. I will
mm.
in fact order butterscotch sundaes. I think it's delicious, but maybe I've just been old for a long time. So,
Okay. Um, the ice cream flavor I thought of her for her was actually not an ice cream. I thought of her as like a lemon sorbet
oh,
because I personally like lemon sorbets. I think they're very refreshing, especially in summer.
hmm,
But if it's not made correctly, a lemon sorbet can be extremely sour. It can be very,
yep.
very tart. And it's one of those things that you take a taste and you're like, oh, that's a lot, and it takes you quite a while to finish it. So I really think of her as like a lemon sorbet. She also wears a lot of yellow.
Hmm.
And she looks very good in yellow. So I just think of her as like a strong citrus flavor.
I want to note here that I was looking up butter pecan in Wikipedia and I have learned something completely shocking to me, if this is in fact true. Wikipedia says it was a butter pecan became an element of soul food, so the cuisine of Black
Yeah.
America. Some speculate that its association with Black American culture is due to the period in the late 19th and early 20th centuries when Black Americans were forbidden from eating vanilla ice cream every day of the year except the 4th of July. And like
What?
we all know America is crazy racist, but that's a whole
Yeah.
new wrinkle that I didn't know about. So I would like to look into that. Please do not quote me that that is true, but that is what Wikipedia says,
That
which
is
is a
so
research project for a
strange.
call.
So
I don't,
until how long were they not allowed to eat vanilla ice cream
I don't
except on the
know.
4th of July? This is so weird. Like what
How can you
random
even
person just sat
how
up
can you
and they were
even
like,
police such a thing? Like obviously shopping is one thing, but
ice
like
cream should not be policed.
Well, amen, sister. But
I
like
mean, nothing
you
should be
could make
policed,
it
but
yourself.
ice
But
cream especially should not be policed.
I don't
That
know.
is
This
terrible.
is upsetting to me for many reasons. Oh, it said The Guardian even. So and they are proper journalists. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody look this
Oh,
up and follow the link to the Guardian article. So I'm not trying
that
to
is
make
very
political
alarming.
commentary by calling Kajol butter pecan ice cream. I did not know that meaning until after I spoke because I don't think she's like an activist or anything.
No, I don't think she is. I think she lives in her little bubble. Um,
The
okay,
Bobby Bubble.
the Bobby bubble, which we love. We're gonna have to do a Bobby episode. You know
We
this,
are.
right?
Yeah, that's fine. That'll be fun.
It'll be fun. There won't be a lot of thinking involved.
No, just
So it'll be
vibes.
fun. We can just like sleepwalk through it because he sleepwalks through his films, so it's fine.
But
Um,
have to do a lot of this.
we just did this a
We'll have
lot.
to curl our hair really big and like flop all
Yeah.
over.
Also wear very, very tight pants. And I might wear sunglasses for the whole episode because if he can look cool doing it, I can look cool doing it. I'm
So
not
funny.
even recording at night, so it's fine. Okay, did you have any closing thoughts on Kajol?
No, but I would like to know who our next superstar is because I can never remember.
I can't remember. I will have to consult our Google Drive, but if I'm not completely mistaken, it might be either Tabu or Rani.
Okay.
So I will have to check, but I will get back to you on that.
We are coming into quite a delightful era for me. So
Yes,
I'm
we
very
are.
excited.
Okay, I think that concludes this episode, and thank you for listening to us. And tell us what you think about Kajol. Are you negative, neutral, or positive on her? Are you
And do you think her
ambivalent?
superstardom, how closely is it related to her
Mm.
overlap with this ecosystem that Pitu so wisely designated for us? Do you have other thoughts about what is her superstardom all about?
Yeah, we want to hear her theories, and especially if you are a casual fan, then we welcome your,
Hmm.
like we want to hear why you're a fan because,
Hmm.
I mean, I can definitely be swayed. I mean, I'm not going to become a fan, but I'm definitely very inclined towards listening to what you have to say.
Hmm.
And then tell us what your favorite casual movies are, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next week. Bye.